forced to take care of a baby that I'm pretty sure isn't mine. About a year ago, one of my buddies/coworkers, who happens to be married to a lady who works with my wife Jane, confided in me that his wife suspected there was something fishy going on between my wife and a guy called Ryan. They were becoming uncomfortably close, spending time alone behind closed doors despite the fact that they don't actually work together, and their interactions were prompting whispers to spread across their workplace. When I queried my wife about her connection with Ryan, she said he was her work spouse and that their friendship was entirely platonic. I expressed my displeasure with the way their friendship sounded and requested that they spend less time together. She agreed, and that was the end of the conversation. We found out she's pregnant a few months later. We were overjoyed at the prospect of becoming parents. I eventually met Ryan at a baby shower and got a good look at him. During her pregnancy, my wife and I were possibly the happiest we'd ever been. She then gave birth to a boy 3 months ago. It didn't take long for me to see that the infant didn't resemble either of us. Jane and I both have light hair, pale complexion, and blue eyes. Despite this, our kid is many shades darker than us both, has brown eyes, dark hair, and strangely, a cleft chin. Ryan has all of these characteristics as well. I've been driving myself insane for the last 3 months trying to figure out who my father is. Many friends and family who have seen the baby have commented on how much he resembles us. Jane has simply chuckled and chalked it up to genetics being picky whenever I or anybody else has commented how weird he looks with us. This week, I couldn't bear the notion of her cheating on me, so I confided in Jane and asked if there was any possibility the baby wasn't mine. She went berserk when I told her I needed a paternity test for peace of mind, and she threatened to divorce me for not believing her. Her exaggerated response just made me more skeptical, and I sought assistance from another sub, who presented me with a link to an article proving that, unless he's a genetic abnormality, her kid did not originate from the two of us. I emailed it to her, and she eventually admitted to the affair. Despite Jane's assurances that everything between her and Ryan is finished and her appeals to attempt to be a family of 3, I've already contacted a lawyer. She is taking advantage of the fact that I like children. I formed a link with her child, and I adore him, but I have no desire to raise another man's child with my unfaithful soon-to-be ex-wife. We'll be having a paternity test shortly, although neither me nor Jane anticipate it to be positive. The issue is that Jane has now asked me to continue watching her kid. She just returned to work after maternity leave, and I had planned to use all of my vacation time for the year to care the baby between the end of Jane's maternity leave and her mother's return from California. So now I have to deal with the continual reminder of my wife's adultery. It's not the baby's fault, of course, but I can't tell you how much I don't want to spend the next 7 weeks bonding with this kid. It's all a shambles. I never anticipated to be in this scenario, and I'm worried that even if the paternity test is negative, I'll still be financially and legally liable for this child. According to my wife, Ryan wants to get out of the whole thing. I'm at a loss for what to do at this point, but I do know that I despise the notion of being responsible for this child, which makes me feel terrible on top of being miserable. Story 2. My 27 female, GF 30 female hasn't had a job in 4 years and it's wearing me down. Hi everyone. I began an LDR with a lady I met via a friend that lasted about a year and resulted in her traveling across state borders to be with me in the city. Everything was wonderful and we were madly in love. Because she traveled across state lines and showed a desire to abandon her hazardous area of choice and try her hand at something more mundane, I agreed to shoulder the responsibility of supporting her until she found work. While I was at work, she would do the majority of the cleaning and grocery shopping. I even consented to sleep on a mattress in the kitchen since she had severe insomnia and needed extremely strict limits to sleep. I could not tolerate ease while working. I feel like I've done all I can for her, including paying for her costly medical requirements, which have depleted my finances. Under the burden of supporting her, I began to acquire an anxiety problem after around 1.5-2 years. What was once something I was ready to do out of compassion and love rapidly became a consent problem and has now become a burden. Now, 4 years after moving to the city, she still hasn't found work. I'm a worried mess, and the strain of supporting her has utterly depleted my emotional reserves. I've ruined my physique by gaining weight as a result of the stress. I used to be a joyful and carefree person, but now I'm simply unhappy and nervous all of the time. We have no sex life since my sex desire has entirely vanished. I'm at a loss for what to do since I still love her, and we have a great romantic connection. She's never done anything really bad, if that makes sense. She's been caring and helpful, and she really seems to be impacted by her inability to find work and bear the weight. I've never given much thought to my mental health previously, but it's beginning to bother me. I've grown emotionally unstable, and the tension and animosity show in my dealings with her at times. The most difficult aspect of this is that I can see she's trying and simply failing. I've attempted to assist, but I've been turned down numerous times and have only been able to help a little, but she hasn't done anything wrong. If she has, I haven't been able to figure out what she's doing wrong in particular, since I can't and don't want to stay there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to watch every job application. But I'm bitter because I feel like I've given up everything, from my body to my mental health, to make this relationship work, but it simply isn't. What should I do? To be clear, this is a huge thing for me, and I've told her it's my main cause of worry and anxiety. I don't see much of a difference, and I believe she's too embarrassed to offer me information at this point, which adds to my anxiety due to the radio silence. Update: a 4-year relationship that has caused me mental, emotional, and physical health issues as a result of said partner's inability to find work or contribute financially in any significant manner. I posted the post at the peak of the COVID in my region, hoping to maintain the friendship. We had relocated to a new state and a smaller town at the time to live more cheaply and to assist address my physical requirements, which couldn't be handled in the city since everything and everyone was locked down. For a few months, everything was well. However, the job inquiry reappeared. I was working full-time and had taken on new duties for staying in shape and losing weight. That's when I realized she was simply existing. She wasn't interested in anything in the region, and she wasn't doing anything to locate work. I spoke with her in October, and we decided that possibly my desire that she find a paid 9-6 job might be softened, and that part-time work would suffice. After all, I just wanted 2 things from her: some space from time to time and her assistance with the cash in whatever way she could. The first of 2 last straws happened that winter. I was trying to start a new company from scratch and had to quit my job to do so, resulting in around 4 months of negative income. It was going to be difficult, but she promised to assist by obtaining a simple job. This assistance never arrived. She couldn't or didn't want to do it. It started to feel more like the latter to me. As a consequence of my taking on contract work on the side, we barely made rent in February, effectively working 2 jobs. We had a tremendous debate over this in February. I wasn't ready to risk becoming homeless because she refused to perform a job that was beyond her skills. I said unequivocally that this was a deal breaker for me, and that I would not advance an inch in the relationship unless she began contributing in the manner we agreed. She concurred. Another 5 months passed with no work. At this point, disappointed with her lack of success, she begs me to accompany her to her hometown and live with her parents while she hunts for employment in a field where she has a network. I flatly declined, and we took a pause. I relocated to a different state, hoping that some distance would help me to think clearly about the connection. By September of this year, I found I was perfectly content and stress-free on my own. We fully severed it. As of this writing, she still does not have a job. I feel exploited, emotionally, physically, and financially assaulted, and saddened by how nonchalantly someone could tear me down. But I'm also optimistic about myself, and I'm seeing a therapist who is assisting me with unpacking it all. Furthermore, my company was worthwhile, and it has grown off, providing me with ample time and space to cope with everything while keeping a healthy lifestyle. Overall, the greatest letdown is that I feel like I've just squandered 5 years of my life with someone who I'm very certain was a subtly abusive abuser the whole time. It hurts to admit it, but the way she made me feel like the evil person, or how she would guilt-trip me and isolate me from my friends. Terrible news. I'll never let this happen to me again.